This is a quick video to help GIS specialists better understand how MapSAR Online fits with ArcMap. Now, a caveat here is I prefer to use MapSAR Online with ArcGIS Pro because it connects directly to web maps. But I did want to show you how to connect to live incident data using ArcGIS Online. So I have ArcMap open. Preferably you'd have it open with the MapSAR template. And right now I'm responding to an incident in Yosemite. I'm using the MapSAR web app that you see here that has editing tools and other tools that have just been discussed in earlier videos. So ideally you'd have rangers or SAR volunteers using this app because it's very easy to use, but using ArcMap for the more heavy-handed geoprocessing. Now remember that web apps are built on top of web maps. So we have a web map here, which is behind the scenes. And in my web map, I have layers. Some of these are base data, but many of these are the MapSAR Online layers. So if I click on one of these links, it's going to take us back to that item property page for the actual MapSAR Online feature layer. So again, the relationship here is I've got an app. Within that app, I've got a web map. And then the web map has layers. And the one that I'm interested in here is my incident data layer, my MapSAR layer. Now, each of these has a unique ID, so sometimes it's a good idea to jot maybe just the last digits down to make sure you know which layer you're working with. This layer itself can be downloaded in a variety of formats. But once I download it, any work I do on that download doesn't connect to the map. Therefore, what I'd actually want to do is open this in ArcGIS Desktop. Or as I mentioned before, I'd rather open the whole web map inside of ArcGIS Pro. But since I'm going to be working in ArcMap, I have a little folder here in incident data just for my web stuff. And I'll use a naming convention there with the date and the incident name, and then just stating that it's a feature layer so I know what it is. And I'll click Save. In this case, I've already done this, so I'll just overwrite. And now that creates an item. This didn't download the data. All it is a way to point ArcMap to the feature layer. It's just one way to do this. And if I double-click and open this, it'll open that layer inside of ArcMap, which I've already done here. So now if you look at the MapSAR layer, this is not local. I'm actually referencing this online. And that's an important distinction. Alternatively, you can always connect to your services in ArcGIS Online in Catalog if you go to My Hosted Services and sign in. In this case, you'll want to be signed in with a username that has access to the layer. Once I am signed in, I can connect to My Hosted Services. Now this can be a little bit tricky because we've got lots of layers in here, and again, another reason why I prefer to use ArcGIS Pro for this, but it is another way to go ahead and find that layer. So since I'm looking at our live incident layer, if I had data like KML or GPX files, how am I going to get them into the MapSAR Online feature layer? Well, I'll show you a quick trick. So if you right click here on your layer of interest, or actually at the root or the group layer, you can see here it says Edit Features. And then what I can do is create a local copy for editing. And that will allow me to do some local editing right here in ArcMap, as long as I synchronize my edits when I'm done. I won't go into that too much now. If you actually have data sets you'd like to add to the live MapSAR layer, you can use tools like append. So let's say I used ArcMap to convert a KML into a feature layer. I can actually append that feature layer. It would be my input data set locally, and the target would be whichever layer here I wanted to add it to. So in this case, it might be my routes layer if I was using GPS. And then of course you'd want to use the no test option, and you'd match the fields accordingly if there was any data that you wanted to go from the source locally into the online layer. So I just want to give some background on how that works. Hopefully you can get some sample data to show you a hands-on example in a bit. Just going back to why I like ArcGIS Pro for this is I can actually connect directly to my portal. And in my portal, I'm invited into groups. Some of these might be groups from other organizations, but in this case, I'm just a member of groups within this MRA organization. And if I open this group under my portal connection, I can actually open the entire web map, which means I get the incident data and the base data that's been stored in that web map. And I find that to be of great advantage. So once that's loaded up, you can see here I have my MapSAR Online incident layers, but also all the base data that was in my web map. And now any edits I make here, I can just click on the Edit tab and simply begin editing. I don't have to create a local copy. I can actually edit the live service. Same thing if I want to use some geoprocessing tools like Append or some of the IGT for SAR geoprocessing like cross-country mobility model. I can actually add that right to my my live map and web app. So, okay, this was mostly for George Durkee, who had a really good question about how to make that connection between MapSAR Online and ArcGIS Desktop. So I thought I would just give a quick overview.